You are a bold and courageous person, afraid of nothing. High on a hilltop near your home, there stands a dilapidated old mansion. Some say the place is haunted, but you don't believe in such myths.
You see, the light hurts my eyes. No, don't be afraid of my dirty friend. Come with me. I'll show you a real vampire.
Welcome back, my friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. My name is Kevin Williams, and I'm joined by the utterly terrifying Count Robert Von Harrison. Happy Halloween, man.
50 episodes. Count them.
Count one.
Count
two.
1, 2, all the way to 50. Border people to death. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, so this is a big one.
This is a big one.
We are 1 year into the podcast.
We are my age.
We are hitting, we are. We did a show for every year of your life.
Exactly.
We are hitting episode 50, and it's Halloween.
Yes.
The trifecta here tonight.
Let me sidetrack you. For those of you just joining us, Kevin and I were in a band together many years ago, and we always had the best merch of any band out there because Kevin did it. He's amazing at graphic design. And now we have the best intros and outro music because he's just knocking it out of the park with this one. I mean, I'm going to go to put that on repeat and just let that play at my next Halloween party. That was pretty spectacular. Spooktacular.
Spooked. Yes. We have to use the correct adjective
Spoopy.
In this Halloween month that we're on. So, yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So how was your weekend? You told me you were going to, last podcast you said you were taking a trip.
I took a trip, put the dog in the back seat, and it was one of his first big road trips, and he did okay. And went to see family for the first time in 10 months thanks to this COVID lockdown crap. So it was nice to see family and check on everybody, make sure everybody's cool, and came right back, and it was very therapeutic. It was nice.
You did a little work while you were there, I understand?
Not too much, just helped with a little bit of tree clearing, but most of it cleaned up. I went down to the Gulf Coast, and they've got hit a couple of times, but the most recent one was about a month ago, and there's still 2-story piles of debris. There's still hundreds and hundreds of giant oak trees and pecan trees on their sides because they haven't had time to clean them up. And this is another reason why I don't live on the Gulf Coast anymore, is because I got tired of that. You just having to live in that kind of devastation and never know when it's going to hit you. It's a tough thing. So all my friends Down there on the Gulf Coast, I feel your pain. We don't have anything like that up here in Atlanta. We'll have occasional tornado that'll clean a couple of streets up, but other than that, we don't have this to deal with the same stuff they do.
Well, man, you look pretty good because I thought you were going to come back missing limbs or something.
Left all the limbs that needed to be left.
Yeah. Well, your sister did send me, she sent me something on a little text message.
Oh, yeah?
So you can explain this after we listen to it. But
okay.
She sent me this over the weekend.
It's not too far from that. I mean, you missed the stump pulling just 2 hours ago. And
here?
Yeah,
Okay.
here. I got bored and there was a stump, and I took my truck to it and yanked it out of the ground after about 4 tries. And yeah, we had a little redneck circus right in the front yard. So there was nobody to witness it, but it was still fun.
Nice. Well, after you cut your limbs off, go listen to the Slam Fest podcast, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Dummy Room, Pot of Thunder, Decibel Geek, Podcast Rock City, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, Rock Strikes 10, History Science Theater, The Podkiss, The Kiss Room, I Love It Loudcast, Ages of Rock, The Synaptic Empire, and Monty's Rockcast. Whew.
Yeah, save the best to last.
Go listen to all those.
Monty's
I know
a great
you
guy.
do.
Yeah.
I know
Oh,
you
yeah.
listen to them every day.
Every single one, front to back and backwards sometimes.
Multiple times
Multiple
on single
times.
episodes. I know how
Memorize
you
that.
are.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to come visit us at InObscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us, all the stuff on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Join in heated debates like I'm having with Captain Ryan right now about which Dokken song really rocks. Yes, that's the kind of stuff that you can get on our social media.
And that band Crocus we talked
involved.
about.
Crocus?
Crocus.
Yeah. Yeah, he thought it was Dokken.
Dokken and Crocus, the two bands that we had to correct him on.
I actually thought it was Dokken as well when I was
really?
a kid. And I remember...
Did it have the umlauts?
No, but I remember there was a shirt and it said, I should have clued in. This is how stupid I was. The shirt said Rockin' with Dokken. Okay?
Of course, that didn't ring a bell.
But they spelled Rockin' with 2 Ks, just like Dokken is. And I'm like, Rockin' with Dokken. I don't get it.
We all have to grow up. Yeah, we all
That's
grow up.
how smart of a guy I was. Well, hey, man, it's Celebration Day. I'm not going to do anything special here. Happy 1-year anniversary. Happy episode 50. And happy Halloween. So I thought we'd do a little year in review first because we've come a long way, man,
Yes, we have.
from episode 1.
Little baby podcasters.
And I wanted to do a couple of thank yous because this podcast would not exist without some people. And before I even reached out to you, Robert, I reached out to my friends that I made over the years. I reached out to Pot of Thunder and Decibel Geek, Podcast Rock City, and Growing Up Rock. All the guys in those podcasts, I sent a note to them. I said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. What do you think? I even created the website and the logo before I even reached out to you just to see if this was something that could fly.
Test run, yeah.
Yeah, and they were all very positive and gave me feedback. Andy Jones from Pot of Thunder, he sent me pictures of his whole setup because I was clueless as to how I could even do this. Mm-hmm. And I think Andy is the reason that I had that extra cable that we never used.
Mystery cable.
The mystery cable.
We plugged in every single time.
Thanks, Andy. But yeah, so just thank you to those guys. Yeah. And also thank you to Cobras and Fire and the Podkiss. So all of those podcasts that I just named have all name dropped us. They've all helped market us on social media, and we're just so grateful. Thank you for just welcoming us to this whole podcast world.
It definitely helped. We appreciate the shout outs and the love, so thank you again.
Yeah, I hate that we couldn't get together in August. We were supposed to do the Rock and Pod Expo in Nashville. Hopefully it'll come around next year and
we'll be there next
do
year.
It again.
We'll be all vaccinated and cleaned up by then.
Exactly. And then I also wanted to thank some of our listeners who have come on board, and most of these listeners have been there since day one and are always commenting and really keeping us going every week. So Bill Elam, Jason Kearney, Jeff Taylor, Brad Rustovan, Craig Elvin, Joey Hall, Jay Shabluski, Nick Jones, Captain Ryan,
yes,
and Jeremy Zamora.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you to all of those guys. And speaking of the last two, the other thing I'll mention is we've had a few guests on the show, and I think those episodes have gone really well. So I've mentioned Captain Ryan and Jeremy. We've had them both on. I think the Jeremy episode was one of my favorite episodes of all time.
Yes.
Mainly because I was force-feeding you vodka.
Yeah, we were hammered.
Yeah. Or what were you drinking? I know Jeremy and I were drinking vodka.
Rum.
You had rum.
Yeah, I was on the rum train that night.
Yeah, that's a really funny episode. Go back and and listen to the wild card episode. That was a lot of fun. And then also at the end of last year, early, I think it was episode 8 perhaps, when I was doing some recording with the Swear, I had Elizabeth and Kent come on and do a couple songs each, or 3 songs each, whatever it was. And that was really fun too. So thank you to them. And then I thought it might be interesting for you to hear, because I get these, I didn't pay for the big podcast hosting package where I can see every metric that's known to man.
What?
You know? So I get the very minimal metrics, but what I can see are the top episodes of all time. So the top 5 episodes that we have in our 50 episodes to date, we have, it makes sense. The number 1 downloaded episode for us is episode 1. So I think even though you can come in at any time, people still start at the beginning.
In case it's chronological. You want to get the story from the beginning.
Which is kind of alarming. It makes me want to go back and re-edit the first episode a little bit, because
we should just re-record it completely and just call it episode 1 and act like we're total professionals from the day one.
Well, this tells me that every episode we should call episode 1.
Yeah,
just
if that's the most downloaded one, yeah, that would help.
Yeah, that's marketing right there. The second most listened to episode, and this is surprising to me, is episode 22, the episode that we did on Hours, the band Hours.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost, in fact, it's almost caught up to episode 1, and that was episode 22. So.
I thought it was going to be Manic Street Preachers.
No, I thought the same thing. No, that's not in the top 5.
Huh.
As big as Manic Street Preachers are, but we're not we're not in the UK, so maybe we're not hitting all those people that we could possibly hit. We have a few listeners.
They can still dial
Ireland
in,
and
though.
Scotland.
The internet reaches over here. Come on, guys.
Well, we can go ahead and talk about that. So I also have top 5 countries. So we are mostly a U.S., a large percentage are U.S. listeners. And it's weird. If you look at our listeners, it's East Coast, so up the entire, heavy in the South, pretty heavy in the Northeast.
A lot of people are heavy in the South, yes.
Yeah, we do have a lot of heavies. Most of our listeners are in the South, and then it kind of skews to the Northeast and the West Coast, and not a whole lot in the middle of the country.
Well, because there's not a whole lot in the middle of the country. There's some farms.
Well, okay, you're throwing some wisdom on me. Okay, yeah. Maybe.
They call it flyover country.
All right, so the third most downloaded episode is episode 11, our tribute to Neil Peart.
Oh, yeah.
Makes sense. He's not obscure, so we would get more hits on that. Number 4 is episode 6, Beneath the Hair. So we've actually done, I think, 3 volumes of Beneath the Hair. So the very first volume of Beneath the Hair is a big one. And then the 5th most listened to episode, again, surprising to me, is episode 11, Visual K. So Japanese Visual K.
That was a weird topic, so that's interesting that people tune in.
Yeah, it tells me we're going to hit that.
We're going to hit that again. Yeah. Well, the lead singer from the Outfield passed away yesterday, so I think if we do a tribute episode to him, it'd be huge. I mean, their one hit was huge.
There are people that love that band. I know Brad Rustovan was on Facebook today talking about how much he loves that band, and even Growing Up Rock. I couldn't tell you anything more.
I can't even remember the guy's name. May rest in peace. I know a couple of people that would follow them almost like the Dead, and I'm like, okay,
not one that I ever went.
Yeah. I could never sing it. He had such a high voice, so I think that's one reason that I instinctively didn't pay attention, because I can never sing that. It's like trying to sing Geddy Lee. It's like 3 octaves above my range. So
yeah, it's weird. I can tell you about these obscure bands, but then these mainstream
stuff,
I don't know them.
I got you covered on that.
Brad Rustovan, he did an episode on, I think he had Foreigner. I don't know anything about Foreigner. Never listened to them other than the radio. I don't know anything about them. What was the other one? REO Speedwagon. I don't know a thing.
Kevin Cronin is just a glorious person. I mean, you should get to know him better.
Yep.
He's a wonderful man. Just kind.
Okay.
I'm making that up. I don't know.
Okay, so back to the top 5 countries. So obviously U.S. The number 2 country is our friends in Canada, followed by Australia, the Netherlands, and France. And then the UK is right.
We've talked about France before, but Netherlands?
The Netherlands is one that's just crept up there all of a sudden. We had
Never would have guessed that.
We had Germany and the UK, and they've kind of dropped down, and now it's the Netherlands and France who are.
Netherlands are kicking ass. Come on, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. And even Sweden was in there.
I'll say thank you in Netherish.
In Hollandish.
Hollandish, yeah, that was it.
Yes, we know nothing about geography, so please excuse us.
Sorry. We're Americans.
Exactly.
You got to forgive us.
We're idiots. One of the cool things, or a couple of the cool things that have come out of doing this podcast is I got connected with Jimmy Hazel. We did an episode on 24/7 Spies, one of my all-time favorite groups, and the next thing I know, I'm I'm having Facebook messaging sessions with Jimmy going back and forth, and I'm just like,
Jimmy, you
this
know
is so
you're going to
cool.
pass through Atlanta at some point. Stop by.
Oh,
give
he
us
and
a
I,
shout.
he and I were talking about that.
Yeah, you
so
gotta
he was
stop
supposed
by
to be
here.
here in June, but the pandemic put a stop to that.
Well,
so
maybe next spring. We'll do something when it warms up.
we will see them. And then also, I've had connections to the band Hours, and we did the unsigned artist episode, and the band from Texas, the Heroin, they reached out to me as well.
Cool.
So, very cool
This
stuff.
is an interesting way to connect with some of those bands that you just become a listener and it's very divided. And then all of a sudden you talk about them and you make a connection, and it just makes the music even more personal because now you know the people that are making this music instead of just talking about them from afar. So I think that's kind of a cool thing that's evolved out of the podcast.
Absolutely. So anything that sticks out to you, favorite episodes or categories or anything we've done over the last year?
I mean, I did enjoy the goth. Some of the stuff is real obscure, and I have no clue what you're talking about, which is painfully obvious sometimes. But on some of the topics that were closer to my wheelhouse, that it got my brain going even more. So yeah, there were some of those that anything the heavier punk groove Motorhead type stuff obviously is going to appeal to me more. So I don't know. I celebrate the entire catalog.
Well, I have the list in front of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
You don't have the
numbers.
list.
I don't know numbers.
Right.
Like podcast 22. That was awesome.
Well, I
I really enjoyed that one.
22, huh?
What was that?
I don't know. I have two 23s in here. I don't have a 22.
Our accounting sucks. Why are they counting?
I think you like the first 23.
First
That's what
23.
you really
First
liked.
23. Yeah.
Yeah. It was 70s rock and punk and metal.
Yeah.
That was one. Yeah.
On I tell you the one the one I hated, the 70s glam.
Oh yeah.
That was just
yeah.
too weird and
So we
too
won't
creepy.
be doing an episode 2 of that one.
But you get into 80s glam, hair bands, then I'm back into it. So I'm going to go step out when we talk about 70s glam.
I can't believe
and then
that
step back in.
bubblegum glam creeped you out that much.
Oh, come on. Come on. You started off with Gary Glitter, and that just set the tone. And then the music actually lived up to his creepiness. Even though it wasn't him, it was his band.
Yeah.
It still lived up to his creepiness.
Now, you were creeped out by the Heavy Metal Kids. I don't think I'll be playing them again.
Yeah.
You didn't like the Squalid Inn.
No, that was pretty much that.
Get in my car, little girl.
Oh, Jesus.
So I've really, obviously, I always have a lot of passion when I do any of the Japanese stuff. I love doing the Japanese episodes. Even though I don't speak Japanese and I don't really know that much, I just wing it.
I enjoy those from the standpoint of admiring the talent in those bands. I don't know a lot about it. The costumes are hilarious and the makeup
Right.
and all that. It's just, oh my God, I don't have that kind of skill to outfit my look. I was never into my look when we were in a band. I wore a t-shirt and jeans, but I admire people that do have that kind of style. But the talent, those guys, I'm like across the board, every single band you played, every member was uber talented and had speed from hell to be able to play what they play.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it was a little taxing on you listening to some of that because you can't understand the lyrics. And
Yeah, you're trying to imagine what they're emoting, and it's just.
But if I can think of 3 episodes that you and I have just, when I listen back to them doing the edits, I'm like, wow, we're actually giddy when we're doing this. It's the funk episodes. When
Okay,
we do the
I
funk
should have said
episodes.
that. I mean, I enjoyed when we had guests in, but the funk, because that's the reason I like it. It gets me going. I can't sit still. It's some of that music that I can't sit still to it.
It's a dance party.
And I don't dance. I do not dance, but I move around kind of like epileptic style.
We do the white person shuffle.
Yeah, I kind of, in place. I stay in my zone over here, but I just can't sit still. It's great.
Well, man, it's been a blast. I hope we can keep this thing going. And thank you to everyone who is actually still listening to this episode right now. So we are going to get into the content. Let's do a little Halloween, man. It's Halloween. Let's get into some
Spook it up.
Spooky selections.
We want the spook.
Yeah, so
have
this
this
episode we are going to call Chilling, Thrilling Sounds of Rock and Punk and Metal. So we're going to play some Halloween songs per Kevin.
Not Halloween.
Oh, we might play some Halloween too.
Okay, just clarify that.
Halloween and Halloween.
All
We're
together.
celebrating all of
Because
it.
they should be celebrated all year,
They
but
really should.
this time of year especially.
But first, I looked up the 10 Halloween songs that rock. That was what I searched in Google, and here's what I got.
Not Monster Mash.
Well, that gets a notable mention, I think.
Okay.
I mean, that's a perennial favorite.
Yes. That was right. You were correct. You used the word in the correct context.
I
you
did use the right word, didn't I?
drink. You get to drink for that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so coming in at number 10, Season of the Witch by Donovan.
What? I thought you were going to say Season of the Abyss or something, or what's the
I actually like
Slayer
that song. Seasons in the Abyss.
Seasons in the Abyss. Sorry, I was like, that's a good Halloween song.
Yeah, there's no Slayer on here.
Ah.
Well, let me just go ahead and throw this out.
Let me
just go ahead and throw this out.
Yeah.
So, other than the notables that you always hear at any Halloween party that you go to, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, I Put a Spell on You, you always hear. Bobby Pickett, The Monster Mash. Oingo Boingo, Dead Man's Party. Rockwell, Somebody's Watching Me. Ray Parker Jr., Ghostbusters. And then there's just Rob Zombie. Any song works.
Throw in a zombie, Dracula.
Marilyn Manson. Any song works. Any black metal, any death metal, any grindcore. None of them are represented in this list, but anything from any of those genres could work. They're not on this list. So number 10 was Donovan, who was a hippie and folky guy.
It was psychedelic in a way.
It was psychedelic, but that's actually a really cool song. All right, so number 9, absolutely, I Love the Dead, Alice Cooper. Absolutely. Okay. That's a great one. Coming in at number 8. Bela Lugosi's Dead, The Bauhaus.
That was what I mentioned last week.
You did. Number 7, Highway to Hell.
It's too happy.
Fits thematically with the title. Number 6, Bark at the Moon, Ozzy Osbourne.
I'll give you that.
Video's great. Even better is number 5, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. That is a creepy song still to this day.
It was.
Number 4. Oh man, the Black Sabbath album cover. You ever just looked at the first album cover? It's creepy as hell.
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, it's so good. Go look at the first cover of Black Sabbath. It's for when it came out. It's super creepy. Number 4, one of my favorites, Pet Sematary, the Ramones. Love it. I loved that movie.
That's out of left field. I wouldn't have thought of that.
I love it. Number 3, Trick or Treat by Fastway.
Never heard of it.
You never saw
that.
You never saw Trick or Treat, the movie? It's a really bad. It's sort of a horror, funny movie.
Cheesy horror.
It's so Fastway did all the music for it. It's about a rock star that comes back to his hometown, and he's demonic, he's possessed, and this kid's really into him, and then he basically ends up killing the entire high school. It's great.
Because that happens.
It's great.
That happens.
And Ozzy Osbourne makes a cameo. He's a preacher in it. And then Gene Simmons has a cameo. He is the radio DJ who also gets killed. So anyway, Fastway, we've talked about them before, but it was Fast Eddie Clarke and Pete Way. So you had Fast Eddie Clarke from Motorhead and Pete Way from UFO. They were putting a band together, and then before they even ever recorded, Pete Way left. So they just kept the name. Pete Way was never really in it.
I'm out.
But they did have the lead singer who would go on to be in Flogging Molly.
Oh, yeah, that Irish band.
Yeah. Dave King from
the
Flogging.
Irish band.
Yeah, Dave King from Flogging Molly. He was originally in Fastway.
I know one Fastway song, Say You Will, and that's the depth of my knowledge when it comes to Fastway.
Anyway, that's number 3. Number 2, Don't Fear the Reaper, Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh, that was obvious. I didn't think of that. That is completely obvious.
And the number 1 is the most obvious of all, Thriller, Michael Jackson.
I'm thinking rock songs. I guess
it's rock, pop. I don't know. This is Google, man. Who knows?
I know.
But that's
the one that Eddie played on one, and then I learned today. I didn't know it, but the guitarist from Toto did the session tracks for the rest of the album. So the rest of that song, except for the solo, Eddie played the solo to beat it, and then the session guy from Toto did the rest of that. I thought it was kind of cool.
His name Steve Lukather?
Lukather. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
have a Toto album.
I give it a little bit, like my respect level went up just a couple more notches when I found out about that, because I always liked it because Eddie. Then you got somebody as talented as that guy playing the rest of it. Like, all right, I'll give him that much.
Well, that was Google's list. Let's get into our list, and let's really celebrate Halloween. We're going to get a little darker.
We're going to go dark and deep.
And we should start with Samhain.
Samhain?
That's how you pronounce it in Gaelic.
Oh.
Irish Gaelic. And Samhain is actually the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter. It's the dark half of the year.
It's not sowing.
And it was originally celebrated on October 31st to November 1st. And then there was something on November 1st and November 2nd called All Saints Day and All Souls Day. And they combined all those together, and now we have Halloween.
Thanks to the Catholic Church.
But originally the pagans, it was called Samhain. And it actually looks like Samhain. It's the way it reads phonetically. So we're going to talk about Samhain.
Okay, I've seen that before, and I didn't know that's what you really pronounce it. Samhain.
It's pronounced Samhain.
Samhain.
The band.
Damn, throwing knowledge on me like that, man.
I'm going deep. I'm going deep.
Wasn't expecting that.
But the band is either Samhain or Samhain, is an American, or was an American, death rock, metal, horror punk band formed by Glenn Danzig in 1983 when he left the Misfits He formed this band, Samhain.
That's where I've seen it before. We talked about that.
Yeah, so the Misfits weren't around that long. I mean, it's amazing that all this merch and everything still exists and all this presence for the Misfits. We talked about that in our Metallica episode. Thanks to Cliff Burton, that's why they're still on the map. And he went into this band, Samhain, afterwards. Similar looking logo and featured the little skull guy that he would adopt as Danzig. But people don't know this band for some reason. This is the one in between, the middle kid. Glenn Danzig originally planned this as a side project with bass player Eerie Von, and I actually got to meet Eerie Von. He lives in Nashville, and I met him at the Rockin' Pod twice. So the previous 2 years, he was at Rockin' Pod selling his book and art and stuff like that. So he's a cool dude. He formed this band with Eerie Von in 1983, and they've had 4 releases, really only 2 while they were active. And eventually when Rick Rubin signed them, he wanted Danzig to get a whole different band, and he said, no, I want Eerie Von to be my bass player. We'll just change the name. And so they changed the name to Danzig, and that's why we have Danzig to this day. So this band was really the first incarnation of Danzig. And what better person to kick off a Halloween episode than Danzig, the Dark Elvis?
Gothvis.
And I'm going to play the song. Of course I'm going to play this song because it's called Halloween 2.
That was a great song to start off with. That set the mood. I don't know if they ever did a video for that song, but if they did, I hope to God it was Glenn looking like a choral director with a room full of zombies that he's trying to direct and sing in unison. Because that's what it sounded like. It sounded like he was leading a bunch of zombies trying to sing this song, which is exactly what it needed to sound like. That wasn't a mistake at all. I think he totally knew what he was doing there.
Yes, we have kicked off the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah. And speaking of zombies, I now kind of made the connection between that song and Rob Zombie. If you had just sped that up like 5 notches, it would have been a Rob Zombie song. So
yeah, a little more industrial.
Just a little, but that same kind of just pounding away from start to finish, no crescendos or anything. It just kind of starts kicking your ass the first downbeat.
Absolutely. And that, that's a big difference. That came out in 86, and that's a big difference from what he was doing in Misfits to then. But it perfectly sets up where he was going with Danzig, because I always considered Danzig more of a metal band than a punk band. But this is somewhere in between, definitely that kind of death punk, death rock. I don't know what you want to call it, but I just call it good and creepy. There's something about the recordings, too. Misfits recordings are crap. Samhain recordings are pretty crap. But something about that crappy recording lends itself to the eeriness of it.
Yeah, that one specifically, because they were going for something, like I said, inside. It was recorded inside a haunted house.
Yeah.
Not a real one, but like a haunted house you would pay $10 to go
studio.
through. Yeah, just they rounded up a bunch of the extras from the haunted house in character. Said, all right, here's the lyrics. I want you to sing this. And it took 30 seconds to get him to sing it.
Nice.
And it was perfect.
Well, let's move on to song number 2, and this is one I think that hits home for you a little bit more. This is T.S.O.L Negative.
Yes.
An American gothic metal band formed in Brooklyn, New York in 1989 out of the ashes of a thrash band called Carnivore. And the lead singer was a guy named Peter Steele.
All 7 feet tall of him.
He's actually 6 foot 8 inches. Yeah, that guy was huge. No longer with us. He's now officially a vampire, but he looked like a vampire. I think at one point he even had his teeth done.
Oh, really? Yeah. Kind of shaved?
Or
filed?
Or he had implants or something.
Okay.
He definitely had vampire teeth. But he was just this towering, lumbering dude. I remember the first time I ever saw them was on MTV, the video for Black Number 1, and he is holding an upright bass, playing it like a guitar. And it doesn't look that big on him.
It fits proportionally. It fits. I've seen the video.
He's got
of
it
that.
strapped on. I'm like, wow, that dude must be huge.
Arms to end all arms.
Yeah, he's a big guy, big voice, big booming baritone, but he could scream pretty high too. He was a great singer, great fit for what they did. I mean, it was truly gothic metal. I can't think of another band that fits that description better than T.S.O.L Negative. Because they had a little bit of pop sensibility. Because they had keyboards, so they would throw some interesting sounds in with what they were doing. They always had humor in their music. It was always a bit tongue in cheek, but at the same time, it was brilliantly done. And I thought it was interesting because Peter Steele, he actually worked for the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, and he did so until he had to leave to go on tour. But I think what I heard was when he came back from a tour, he would actually go back to work.
That's basically just put him on furlough, and then he would come back and go back active.
But I looked up what he actually did, and he worked in the Brooklyn Heights Promenade, and he did park maintenance. He drove garbage trucks and steamrollers, and he was a supervisor. Can you imagine that dude's your supervisor?
I need you to pave that pothole over there.
I need you to go over there and get that trash. And if you don't, I will bite you on the neck.
I'll snap your neck with my vocal
snap
cords.
You in two.
All right, sir. Yes, sir.
So some other things he's known for, if you go back to the late 90s, he was on several of the talk shows of the time. So he was on Ricky Lake. He was on Jerry Springer. He was on Howard Stern several times. He was an interesting person that was always controversial. And the other thing he did, he actually did a Playgirl centerfold in 1995.
It was like extra centerfold. It had an extra page to fold out.
It must have been an extra fold in that thing. I don't think I have that episode.
You should look that up.
I don't think I have that issue.
You should look that up.
Yeah, I really don't want to.
You can put it on private. Your browser history on private. You don't have to have that show
I'm
up.
good. I'm good. In 2005, he was suffering from paranoia caused by heavy substance abuse, and he was also diagnosed bipolar. And so he went into rehab, and then he also did a stint. It was a bad year for him. He also did a stint in prison for assault. Apparently his girlfriend's ex, he took care of him.
Oh, good God. Can you imagine? Like, you start dating somebody and she starts telling you stories, and then you find out that's her ex, and you're like, oh, God, no.
Yeah. So, he spent 30 days in prison. And then by 2007, this is interesting, he'd always been an atheist. And in 2007, he started identifying as a Roman Catholic. And then he died of sepsis in 2010.
What is sepsis?
So sepsis is where your organs shut down from, I believe, some type of
a virus or fungus or something. Yeah. Okay.
But he wasn't even 50. He was 48 when he died. Fortunately for us, we got 7 releases from 1991 to 2007. Several of them, well, I should say the second album, Bloody Kisses, went platinum, and several of the albums did go gold. So they had some success early on. Mm-hmm. I think later in their career, not as much. I am going to play from probably their most depressing album, but it's also really good. It's one that originally I didn't like it as much as the other albums. This is from World Coming Down, which was their 4th album, I believe. And it didn't have the same kind of humor about it as the other albums before it. Going back and listening later, now it's one of my favorites. It's the only one I have on vinyl, actually. But I'm going to play a song for Halloween called Everyone I Love is Dead.
2 years ago, 2018, I lost my father. I lost my best friend, lost some other friends. It was a horrible time in my life. It was a really dark time for me. They're all within about 6 months. And so as an artist, I sometimes deal with things by making art, and that's my therapy. And so I made an art piece inspired by the loss and the death, and it worked on it for about a month, maybe 6 weeks. And every time I went in my shop, this was the soundtrack. This song would hit me every time. Love You to Death, which is my other favorite song by them. It's such a powerful song. It's really dark, but it's also very cathartic if you listen to the words. And God, that got me through a really hard time. I get emotional just thinking about it. And so we play it jokingly as this Halloween dark song, but it's so powerful. I mean, that guitar, holy crap, it's one step away from just static. It is so fuzzy and heavy. It's on that spectrum where just a couple more notches and it just would have been inaudible. But I love it. It's so powerful. And you combine that with his voice and then just the lyrics where he doesn't use, sometimes his lyrics aren't that flowery. He just comes out and says, God damn it, you're just mad. You want to just curse and yell and scream. And that's what he puts into his lyrics. And it just resonated with me. So I'm glad you played that for Halloween, but also just for in that, when you're in that dark space, sometimes you need music to kind of cut through and grab you and then help you along through that phase.
It's so poignant what you just said, because you don't even know the backstory of this album. And the backstory of this album, the reason that it's so dark and it doesn't contain that humor that they had put into previous albums is because of the exact same thing that you just said. Peter Steele lost family members. He lost people that was close to him during this time. This was his darkest time. And this song especially was written, this is not poetic writing. This is just
it just
him
comes right out
spilling
saying, everyone I love is dead. And that's what I was feeling, where things were leaving me
but
very
you didn't
quickly.
even know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you know it deep down when that song connects with you. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a happy song, sad song, angry song, but when you connect with a song like that, it's something. And listen to it over and over again. Once again, thanks to your iPod
that you still have.
I still have. It's very safe. It's locked away in a lockbox. But no, that soundtrack, it brings me back to that. And I don't want to relive the dark emotions, but I want to relive coming out of those emotions where you start to deal with it and you come out of that dark place and you reemerge. That's something that I do want to relive.
Well, man, I mean, grief is real.
Yeah.
And it is a true human process. It's not just something that somebody can, he's grieving. Like, I think some people would think, whatever. Yeah. Just get over it. That's not how the human process works.
No, you have to work through it. And that was me working through it. You can go to therapy and try to force your way through it. No, it's got to happen. And that's that process. It was beautiful. Like, I don't want to relive the dark emotions, but the beauty of going through that is what I appreciate.
We're getting deep here, but the other thing, I mean, Halloween is a pagan holiday.
Yeah.
But it was actually a celebration of exactly what we're talking about, because it had to do with the harvest, right? And it had to do with death of the crops and everything else.
Getting ready for winter.
And going into a really dark place for people back in a time where when it was fall and wintertime, there wasn't a whole lot to eat. And you were going to lose some of your tribe just due to the...
And plus in some of the Scandinavian countries, it gets dark and it stays dark.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a real celebration of coping and grieving with what was to come. So anyway, we're getting a little deep, but
that's okay.
I think it's good.
You can't touch on that subject, typo negative, without delving into some of that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that band, and I actually appreciate them more now than I did when I was in college. I discovered them when I was a freshman in college, and that was another one of those cassette tapes that never left my Walkman as I was going between classes.
It was one I would listen to if I heard it and go, that's typo negative. I can recognize that. It was until I had my own personal experience with it that they got elevated really high up into my top 3 or 4 bands probably.
I hate that I never saw them live. I don't ever remember them even coming here, but I know they did. But I don't ever remember seeing any flyers or anything. I hate that I didn't seek that out when I had the opportunity.
Well, there's some live footage on your iPod or live recordings on your iPod. It's pretty cool. Listen to that. He's yelling at people in the crowd and stuff, like threatening them. I think somebody threw a water bottle and he's like, bring it on, man.
So that was their second release, Origin of the Feces.
Yes, Origin of the Feces.
And I think it's one of those mock live albums where they kind of did it in the studio.
Oh, really? It had me fooled. Totally had me fooled.
But anyway, well, let's move on. Why don't we lighten it up? We're going to talk about an American woman who was the main suspect in 1892 for the axe murders of her father and stepmother in Fall River, Massachusetts. Little light.
Oh, yeah,
there.
definitely lighten that up. Mass murder.
Lizzy Borden was tried and acquitted of the murders. However, there's still, to this day, we're still talking about Lizzy Borden and did she or did she not?
Because her house just went up for sale again last week. I know that.
How do you know that?
I try to stay abreast of the real estate market.
Well, that's what you're looking
when
for.
It comes to
Lizzy Borden's home.
Houses that people have been killed in. It's a hobby of mine.
You really do belong on this podcast. Oh, it also happens to be an American heavy metal band formed in L.A. in 1983, Lizzy Borden. And similar to Alice Cooper, the band and the lead singer have the same murderous name. So Alice Cooper, I think, was the template for Lizzy Borden, obviously, because Alice Cooper was also a female who was a murderer, and Alice Cooper took that name, the Alice Cooper that we know today.
And then Marilyn Manson did the same damn thing
Marilyn
again.
Manson did the same thing. So the template has been tried.
And worked.
Several times. And it's worked for everyone that I know of. Now, Lizzy Borden, not quite to the level of the other two, but...
I've at least heard of them.
Yeah. However, they do have 7 full-length albums from 83 to 2018 was their last one. And I think part of the reason maybe they never quite made it, I mean, they definitely had some success, but their music was kind of all over the board. And even early on, they were traditional heavy metal, they were power metal, could consider them glam metal at some points. The reason I know about them is I remember seeing not only ads for their albums in Hit Parader and Circus back in the day, but when I saw the Metal Years Part 2, they were featured in that. So that's how I knew of Lizzy Borden. It's an interesting band. Their later albums now are more, they're just odd to me. They haven't aged well. Let me just say that to me. But
the members or the music?
I know Aaron Camaro on Decibel Geek. He is a Lizzy Borden fan, loves everything that Lizzy's ever done, and that's fine, Aaron. I'll stick to the older stuff. We're going to play something from 1985 off their first true album, Love You to Pieces. We're going to play Psychopath, because that sounds Halloween to me.
going to piss off a lot of people here by saying that his vocals had just a couple of things in common with Geddy Lee that I couldn't stop thinking about. It's Psychopath. He just had some inflections like that that sounded just like Geddy Lee. So I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody that just pissed off by comparing.
I think you're
Geddy
right
Lee
on.
to that guy.
I think that Lizzy Borden came from Alice Cooper and Kiss and Rush.
All that.
And
This
Deep
was
Purple.
85, you said?
85.
Oh, yeah. This is still in the hangover of the 70s arena rock.
Yeah. I mean, obviously some Black Sabbath thrown in and a lot of Alice Cooper. I mean, the whole Psychopath thing and playing that character in the middle of the song, very Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm sure at the time Alice probably wasn't so happy with Lizzy Borden, but
he was fat and happy by 1985. So he was still probably like rolling. No, he had $1 Billion Babies that come out in 80.
oh yeah, that's
what-
70s. That was 73.
So, no, okay. What is the one I'm thinking?
You're thinking of Trash.
Trash, yeah, the one where
Yeah, that
Meatloaf
was
wrote his big power ballad hit.
80 was that 89?
80
maybe?
oh, okay. It was later,
88,
late
89.
80s. Yeah, that's when he really hit it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you anything about that band other than I knew their names. So, do they play up that horror
Yes.
psycho connection in most of their music? Is that a common theme?
Yeah, because Lizzy he basically plays the part of Alice Cooper, just like Alice
Okay.
does. I mean, that's
So
sort
that
of,
is their persona.
and they have the whole their stage show, a lot of props, a lot of
Well, that sounds
shock
kind of cool,
value.
though.
So
I mean,
it's shock rock.
it's kind of fun to get into the props and the scary stuff and
yeah,
fake blood.
Yeah, it's kind of not quite on the Guar level, but
Yeah.
it's close. I
It's a
think.
mannequins with scary outfits on. So
The other thing I remember about Lizzy Borden growing up was he was also featured on the it's a really bad B movie called Black Roses, which is another one of these 80s horror movies that is about a band who comes to town and kills everybody. So
we're slaying them. No, really,
The real
we just
slayer.
killed everybody. Yeah.
yeah, but he had a song called "Me Against the World" featured on that soundtrack, and I picked that up several years ago. I used to go into my little hometown. It was called Square Records, and they did rented videos, and they had music, and that's where I got all my music as a child. And I used to go over to the rental section in the 80s, and I would look at the horror movies because I loved horror movies, and I would always look at the box for Black Roses, and I'd read the back because it had members of King Cobra and I don't know. I just remember that, and that's one of the places where I first read the name Lizzy Borden and started, kind of diving into it. But anyway, moving on, we're going to do a little American punk / death rock / art punk / horror punk / goth / glam metal.
Wow, that's a lot of slash.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Is he
of
in the
different
band?
genres. A lot of different genres. Nope. We're going to talk about True Sounds of Liberty.
Oh,
T.S.O.L. We actually did an episode on T.S.O.L. It was episode 7, but we talked about a particular lead singer named Joe Wood. I'm going to go pre-Joe Wood. So this band started as a American punk rock band from Long Beach, California, and they were one of the original hardcore punk bands to come out of the scene. They started in 78, so they were there with all the bands that were kind of following that SoCal punk formula in the early 80s, that gave us Social Distortion and Circle Jerks, and T.S.O.L. was right there with them. Now, the original 4-piece in this band only had 3 releases from 81 to 83, so not very long. And then the singer and kind of leader of the band, Jack Grissom, and the drummer, Todd Barnes, left. And what Jack did, and what we talked about in our episode, was he brought in his brother-in-law, Joe Wood, to take over as lead singer of the band. And so the T.S.O.L. that we covered in our episode was all about Joe Wood and the Joe Wood years, where he took them in a totally different direction, and that's how we got kind of that horror punk, goth, and glam metal. That's kind of when they went down that path. But they actually, prior to that, their 3 releases that they had, they were all over the board. Every release was different. So they came out as a typical hardcore band. With their second release called Dance With Me in 81, they sort of invented death punk because, I shouldn't say that because The Damned was there, but they kind of took the template of The Damned, what they were doing in England, and so you got this kind of death punk, but it sounds California. And so I'm going to play from Dance With Me. It's a great album, and I'm going to play the song Silent Scream. It's very Halloween.
Cobwebs stare, the ancient bones. I'm the shadow rippling cobblestone. I'm the stagnant swamp, the black lagoon. I'm the branches scratching at the moon. I'm the funeral service, the unknown mourner. I'm the demon cowering in the corner. I'm the sexton's spade, the new thrown clay. I'm what's left when they walk away. I'm the ebony coffin, satchel lining, pale thin lips in the bathroom dying. The pale thin lips in the bathroom dying. I'm the walking dead, the fly-by-night. I'm the last of the fading light. I'm the unbarred door, the open casement. I'm the step leading down to the basement. I'm the four-post bed, the let-down hair. I'm the cross you forgot to wear. I'm the highest voltage, the shining slab, the crack of midnight in the doctor's lab. I'm the night before, the morning after, echoing up the Baron's laughter, the echoing up the Baron's laughter. Jonathan Harker, I'm Lucy's trance, elegant count, hypnotic glance. I'm the wooden mallet, the sharpened stake. I'm the precautions you forgot to take. I'm the mummy's curse, the passing bell. I'm the fortune that they wouldn't tell. I'm pyromania, I'm Transylvania. I'm out of breath, I'm worse than death. I'm the late night air, exhilarating, with you in the darkness waiting. I'm with you in the darkness waiting.
Stupid punk song's only 2.5 minutes long. Damn, I was just really getting into that.
I know, right? In and out.
You just
hit it and quit it.
Yeah, well, let's do it for the outro for the show so I can hear it again. But I like that. So tell me the year again.
1981.
So I wonder if Michael Stipe was a fan of T.S.O.L. Because that
very similar voice.
Very
to Jack,
similar voice,
yeah.
and it was heavy but not metal. I could see that kind of sound.
Yeah, they were a punk band.
Yeah.
But like I said, with the next release, they would change their sound again. They added keyboards and did like this kind of psychedelic thing. So he was always changing up.
But it was heavy, but it was melodic. It wasn't just distortion. So that I really liked that. I was surprised how much I liked that.
So we talked about the Joe Wood era, and then what happened was Jack and Todd came back and reunited with the other two who eventually left Joe's band. So T.S.O.L, at one point, T.S.O.L was out without any original members. The original members got back together in 1991 and could not call themselves T.S.O.L because there was another band already out there.
The way it evolved, they had the name.
So they just spelled it backwards and called themselves Lost. And then so they put out some stuff, and then I think they got pretty heavy into some bad things and did a little time, and they ended up coming back again after Barnes died in the early 2000s, and they've sort of been going ever since. And you and I saw T.S.O.L. We saw that version. That's the version
the
we
original
saw.
members that had gotten
members.
back.
Yep, with the exception of the guy that died.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're still continuing on. They tour from time to time. They put out albums from time to time. But one of my favorite bands of all time, and actually another episode that I absolutely love. It was one of our worst ever downloaded episodes.
With T.S.O.L?
The T.S.O.L episode.
Wow.
If you're out there listening right now and you didn't give that episode a shot, go back to episode 7, listen to T.S.O.L. I love the Joe Wood years. Most people who are punk purists,
stop.
They hate the Joe Wood stuff because he took them eventually into glam metal. I love it. But I love everything that band did, no matter who the singer is. So anyway,
or drummer, or bass player,
or whomever.
guitarist,
yeah, exactly.
or the roadies.
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care.
If you call it T.S.O.L, I'm probably
It's
going to like
T.S.O.L.
it. All right, now we are going to move. We've been doing mostly American groups, and I think we need to go to the old country if we're really going to celebrate.
There's spooky things
Samhain.
Overseas.
And we need to go to Norway.
Ooh, it's really spooky
Ooh,
there.
yeah.
Real spooky there.
So I'm going to talk
off.
about a Norwegian death punk band formed in 1989 called Turbo Negro. Now, why a bunch of white pasty dudes from Denmark would call themselves Turbo Negro, beyond me, but that's the name of the band, okay? And this band has been around, like I said, since 1989. They started off as noise rock until establishing their true direction as a death punk and death glam. They created their own genres. Death glam band in 1995. And you got to go look up on your phone, you got to go look up what this band looks like, because in 1995 they figured it out, and they wore all denim sailor hats and mustaches. They look like a cross between the Village People and a biker gang. And they have a huge following all over the world, and the fan club in different areas, sort of like a motorcycle club. They wear jackets with Turbo Jung In.
Patches.
Yeah. It says Turbo Jung In on the back, which I'm assuming is Norwegian for something.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to become a member. They have one in Atlanta. They have a Turbo Jung In Atlanta. And anybody who's a member, once you get to a certain point, you get your jacket and you get your patches on the back. And you wear it like a badge of honor.
I should look into that. You get jumped in, like jump all over and beat your ass, and then
I don't know. I don't know how you
or you just pay a dues.
I don't know. Maybe you just have to listen to every album. I don't know.
You have to memorize stuff. Take a test.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a written test
or
what.
Arm wrestle the biggest guy there and win.
But this is another band. So when we start listening to it, please go look at them. And then also, this is another band that just has great band names. On guitar, you have Euroboy. The singer, they've had a couple different singers, but the one that's the best, in my opinion, is Henk von Helvet. You have Rune Rebellion, Palpo Pamparius, and Happy Tom.
Oh, just Happy Tom. Right after Palpo Paparius, there's Happy Tom over there sitting in the corner.
Pamparius, yes.
Pamparius.
And the song we're going to play is actually called The Age of Pamparius. So...
This is the dawning of the age of Pamparius.
In the late 90s, they put together what became what they call the Apocalypse Trilogy, and they're my three favorite albums by this band. So good. I mean, you're talking about a band that has Euroboy does nothing but lead. He never plays any rhythm. And you have two other guitarists. I mean, just heavy on guitar, just great hooks.
Oh, you're selling me now.
Yeah, you're going to love it.
Okay.
You're going to love it. But this, I'm going to play from the very first of the Apocalypse trilogy. It's the album's called Apocalypse Dudes. It was followed by Scandinavian Leather, and finally Party Animals. But it's part of the Apocalypse trilogy, and I'm going to play The Age of Pamparius from 1998.
You did a good job of selling that at the beginning. This is going to be a really heavy song, some punk edge to it. It starts off like a freaking Super Bowl commercial for Budweiser with Clydesdales walking down the street and the Blue Angels are flying overhead. So it took a minute for it to get spooky, and then it paid off. Yeah, it got heavy and spooky.
Hank Von Hell.
Hank Von Hell.
Good stuff.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought about maybe diving into them, doing a deep dive.
I think that's worth it. I would like that.
And maybe we can find somebody local who's in the Turbo Jungin to come talk to us.
Oh.
All we have to do is wait for there to be shows again, and you can see the jackets, and all we have to do is just find the right guy.
Get that vest guy. Hey, vest guy.
Come here and talk to us about this band. All right, so I mentioned a movie called Black Roses.
Mm-hmm.
I actually own the soundtrack to Black Roses, the horrible, horrible horror movie from 1988.
There were many.
Directed by John Fasano and starring
Wait for
John Martin.
John Martin.
Ken Swafford, Julie Adams, and don't forget Carla Ferrigno.
Ferrigno. Is that relation to Lou Ferrigno?
Probably not.
Incredible Hulk?
Probably not.
Oh, just random Ferrigno. A distant cousin.
I don't know any of these actors,
Third
but that's
cousin.
who's in it.
That's how you get a job. You know somebody, man. Yeah, my uncle on Third Removed is Lou Ferrigno.
Now, if you go and put this in Wikipedia, Julie Adams comes up with a link. So she's done something else. None of the other cast have links.
Have you checked OnlyFans? Do they have OnlyFans pages?
I don't know.
They're in their 60s now. I hope not.
So here's the great movie that we got. So it was a new heavy metal band named Black Roses, plays at a sleepy town called Mill Basin, causing the town's kids to turn into rockers. However, what the town does not know is that the band is also turning kids into demonic monsters.
They told us about that in church.
Yep. That's exactly
happens
what
when
they
you
told us.
listen to
That's
Queen.
what they said, especially if you do it backwards.
Backward, yeah. You listen to backwards or forwards. You listen to Ozzy Osbourne. He wears spandex sometimes. He's evil.
Yeah. Well, that was another movie called The Gate. But anyway, so this is a really bad movie. It's so bad that it's awesome. So I recommend it to anyone to go watch this. And the heavy metal band that is featured is actually most of the members of King Cobra. So you got Carmine Appice, who was in Vanilla Fudge.
God, that's a super obscure reference.
So he is actually the drummer, and he looks like, he always looks the same. It's Carmine Appice, who was in this psychedelic band, yet he's in this 80s movie as a demonic drummer.
When are we going to have an InObscuria film fest for all these obscure films that you throw out there that are bad but good?
This would be
that we could
one.
Screen some of these bad but good films. I think that's not next year.
Maybe we could make that part of the Rockin' Pod. We could host a InObscuria
film fest screening
in one of the rooms or something.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Chris about that.
Okay.
That could be really fun. This would be a great one to do it. So the soundtrack features a lot of prominent bands of the time, like super prominent, like King Cobra.
Yeah.
Lizzy Borden's on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We know about them.
There was a band called Tempest on it.
No. That was a good video.
And this is what's so cool, because I didn't even realize it until I was looking through the album. A band from Atlanta, Georgia is on this soundtrack. And I'd completely forgotten about this band, so this is what I'm going to play. It's a thrash metal band that was only around in the early 80s. They only lasted until 88. There's a band called Hallows Eve. And they are from Atlanta, Georgia, a thrash metal band.
Thrash metal from Atlanta.
And they put out 3 albums from 1983 to 1988. You can still find their debut pretty easily. The other 2, I'm not so sure. But they were, what I remember about them is they were on the Metal Massacre compilation, which back in the day, that was the compilation. That's how Metallica got their first start. And actually, I think all of the thrash bands who went on to some prominence were at some point in time featured on one of these Metal Massacre compilations. So if you had a song on one of those compilations, they were on volume 6. But if you had a song on that meant you were an up-and-coming thrash band. It was a big deal in the day. But Hallows Eves, so we're going to play a song that is cleverly titled Die. Just Die. Yeah, D.I.E.
Oh, they're really spelling it out.
Yes. So
just so you understand.
It would be an acronym, I think is the correct way to say it.
Die in excellence.
So let's check out a little Atlanta, Georgia thrash metal that happened to be on the Black Roses soundtrack. Death
In
in
effect. That's what they were going for. In effect.
DIE.
I haven't heard anything else from them, so I can't really compare them completely to other bands. But that one song, if you take that song and compare it to early Metallica, we understand why Metallica was just peeling the skin off your face compared to that song.
Yeah.
But they may have had other songs that just completely shredded too. But that was your typical heavy, going for really heavy. But like I said, you put that side by side with some of the early Metallica that just made you stand back and go, what the hell was that? What did I just hear? And so it's fun to kind of compare that. But it's also fun to think about that band in Atlanta in the early 80s, some of the gritty, nasty dive bars that they played in that are no longer here.
I bet they were a lot of fun live.
God, yeah. Just a big sweaty crowd. Atlanta's hot. Even in December, it gets hot in those bars.
All cut off T-shirts and high tops and
Denim.
tight jeans and lots of hair.
Lots of denim and hair.
Lots of dudes swinging their heads. Banging, banging, banging.
So it was definitely crunchy and heavy. But yeah, I understand why they didn't go much further.
I had to play them. One, they're on one of the worst horror movie soundtracks of all time. And then two, their name is Hallows Eve, and it's Halloween.
It's perfect. It fit perfect.
And they happen to be hometown heroes, so... Okay, I'm going to play for the next song a band that we've actually played before. We featured them on episode 36. You remember that one, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
What was that one again?
It was the one where we did some obscure music and we counted down a list.
Oh, yes. It was an 80s time capsule.
Yeah, that one. That's what I said.
So this is a goth and horror punk band from L.A., so they were around at the same time as T.S.O.L. and the band we played last week, Christian Death. This was one of those other kind of gothy punk in-between bands. This is a band called 45 Grave. And I think you remember that their lead singer had one hell of a stage name, Miss Dinah Cancer. So very tongue-in-cheek horror music. They were sort of a mix of what had come before them with the Germs, the Bags, and the Gun Club, and they became more gothy and a little bit more punky, and I don't know. It's 45 Grave. It's cool. I first heard of them in 1985. They were featured in the movie Return of the Living Dead. I mentioned that before. One of my all-time favorite Halloween movies. In fact, I remember watching that movie on Halloween night with my good buddy Connor Tyndall and just being floored and loving not only the movie but the soundtrack. That's a great, great Halloween soundtrack, Return of the Living Dead. And their song Party Time was featured on it and was actually featured in the movie as they're dancing in the graveyard, this 45 Grave song. But I'm going to play a different song from their album Sleep in Safety. They only had the one album until finally their second album came out in 2012. Long period in between.
Don't rush into it.
But I'm going to play a song that's a little bit longer, but it's a great tune called Procession.
I totally know how to make that sound effect.
You have it right over there.
Right over there. I have played with that sound effect for hours and hours, for years.
Creepy enough for you?
It was more weird than creepy, but I like weird, so it satisfied that either way.
Well, if you listen to the lyrics, it was basically the procession of the goth girl is what it was. So I
think I've dated her.
I love that band. Good album. Like I said, don't have a lot to listen to other than that one album, really.
Yeah.
But it's a good one.
Brief time here in the music world.
I always go back to it at Halloween especially. So I have one more song for you. Are you getting creeped out enough yet?
I got chills, man. They're multiplying. Oh, that's not creepy. No, that's not.
That actually does creep me out. That really does.
John Travolta and Living in John Travolta. Creepy grease.
So I'm actually, I hate that we're ending, but it is Halloween and we can't continue on with this much longer, so I'm just going to milk the sound effects while I can.
I think you should, because I love the sound effects.
So I'm not going to talk too much about this next band. We'll just let these creepy sound effects lead into a band that's not that obscure, but maybe somewhat forgotten in the U.S.
Yeah.
A little German band that we've talked about before. And I'll just leave it at that.
That's got to be one of the happiest scary songs out there. I mean, that is a happy song.
It's Halloween.
It's supposed to
man.
be scary.
That's how they do it.
God, I forgot how talented. I mean, all of them. Damn.
Such a good band.
Did they not completely rip off that last chord from the Beatles?
Oh, it's totally lifted from the Beatles.
Okay,
but
good.
I didn't know that as a kid when I listened to it. I thought that was brilliant, and then I heard it on the Beatles, and I'm like, oh.
The Beatles did it. It's like the Simpsons did it. The Beatles did it sooner or later.
Exactly.
That was great. That gets your blood going right there, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
German power metal band formed in 1984 in Hamburg, Germany, West Germany at the time.
Hamburgers.
We talked about them in episode 43 with our friend Captain
43
Ryan.
or 42? 42? 43?
Why don't you check your records?
Let me check. Let me go back. No, it was 43. You're right. Yeah, sorry.
Get your compass out. Your protractor.
My pocket protector protractor.
So I remember seeing an ad for them in Rip magazine was where I first discovered Halloween. And the ad was a drawing. I didn't know at the time it was featured in the album artwork on the inside, but it was a blow up of a drawing of a jack-o'-lantern, and there was a lady who was playing leapfrog over the top of it, and she happened to not be wearing any pants.
Leapfrog is in quotation marks.
Yes, leapfrog.
Yes.
And the pumpkin stem, of
Right
course, is
Yeah.
directly. Yeah, so as a young lad, I remember seeing that ad and going,
Huh.
I don't know who they are,
I'm excited about this
but
ad or the band or something.
I
I'm
have
not
to
sure.
explore more.
Sure, that's what you called it.
So
Kevin, are you exploring in your bedroom?
I'm just reading my Rip magazine.
Okay. Lunch is ready.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned when we talked about them before, our good friend Brandon still had a poster on his wall. I don't remember how he got it. I think he got it from the same record store perhaps, but it was the Headbangers Ball Tour featuring Exodus, Halloween, and Anthrax. And I don't know, something about every time I hear this band, I think of that poster because it was on his wall. We had it in our band room
Yes, we did.
back in the day. But
I like the band. Oh, sorry, you're right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, super successful band. Don't really belong on here, but it is Halloween. You can't have Halloween without Halloween.
We're breaking the rules. This is our 50th anniversary. So,
Exactly.
our 50th episode anniversary. But that was one of the bands. I was into Metallica and all the mainstream. I would look at bands like Halloween, and it was a little too silly back then to me. And the gimmicky type thing, and I'd maybe listen to a snippet of it, and it just sounded way over the top. And now I'm glad that looking back, I can appreciate once again the talent it took to be over the top. It's not easy to be over the top, and those guys nailed it. So it just took a while for me to kind of figure out how to appreciate that. And it took till I was in a band myself to understand that's hard to do.
Yeah.
What
And
they had.
if you really want to appreciate it, they have 15 albums, so you can really,
appreciate
you can
a
really
lot of that.
dive in.
Yes.
I remember also when Bruce Dickinson announced that he was leaving Iron Maiden, I was thinking, this guy was a dead ringer.
I thought
for that
during
job.
I say that to a lot of bands, but that guy especially
Michael
could have
Kiske.
nailed it. Yeah.
And he was, at that point in time, I believe he had left Halloween.
So he was available.
He was available. I think he was doing pop music, though. But I don't know why they didn't approach him, because the guy they got...
God, he was.
Yeah,
I don't
anyway.
I don't even remember it.
Well...
It's not worth
His
remembering.
name was Blaze Bailey, but
Yeah.
he didn't sound... I think they were trying to get away from somebody trying to sound like Bruce.
They were
but
trying to go in a
It
different
worked
direction.
really well for Judas Priest, so they probably should have taken note.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what I have for you. I'm actually a little sad to not have Halloween anymore next week, because I've really enjoyed putting together these little sound
We
clips.
could go ahead and record next year's episode.
We could just keep going. I mean, we are in Obscuria,
Yeah.
so we do have a little bit of a horror slant with everything we do.
Do you remember
but
me getting kicked out of the haunted house? You were with us, I'm pretty sure.
What year would have this have been?
Oh, I was 18 years ago. About 18 years ago. I was at early 30s.
Something way back here.
Yeah, this is stuff you do in like high school. But no, in my early 30s, I got kicked out of a haunted house because I was going behind the scenes and scaring the actors, sneaking up on them. And all of a sudden,
that is so Robert.
yeah, I got bored with the haunted house, so I was sneaking behind the scenes and scaring the actors that were waiting to scare people. And I remember like a door opening and somebody grabbed me and drugged me and threw me out the back. It was in an old industrial warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and they threw me out the back of the building and then closed the door. And it's dark. There's kudzu, and I didn't know where the hell I was, so I had to like climb through a ditch to get around to the back to the front of the building where you guys were waiting for me. Like, what happened? I'm like, nothing. So that's kind of my haunted house memory that I just thought about right now as we're doing the Halloween episode. So
nice.
Added that to the list of places I've been thrown out of.
All right. Well, tomorrow is officially Halloween. We're celebrating a day early. It's the 30th.
Trick or damn treat.
Yeah. Go out there and enjoy it. Try to forget all this crap that's going on.
Just dress up and
fun.
walk up and down the street. You don't have to actually go trick-or-treating.
And remember, we said it last week. You're supposed to be dressed up while you're listening to this, but definitely dress up like your favorite podcaster tomorrow when you go out for Halloween. All you have to do is get a black T-shirt, a pair of jean shorts.
Headphones.
Jorts
and headphones.
And some headphones. Maybe pack on a few pounds, eat some candy early.
Yeah.
And, you'll look just like one of us. So there you go. There's your Halloween costume. A podcaster. I'm going to go out with the entire song. We've been playing snippets from the song. Nobody has guessed it. We've been playing at the end of the episode the band Goblin. And they are an Italian band who actually inspired our name and our logo. They're an Italian band who's been on a ton of 70s and 80s horror movies. They were a lot of the, in fact, all of the Dead movies, I believe they did soundtracks for those. There's a soundtrack they did called Suspiria, and that's where InObscuria came from, and even the way that I write the word InObscuria, that's kind of where it came from. So a little connection here. But I'm going to play the theme song, and it's in Italian, so I'm just going to say it's the zombie theme song. So this is from Dawn of the Dead. We're going to go out on this. So happy Halloween. Happy 50th episode.
Happy 50th episode.
Happy 1 year anniversary to InObscuria.
Episode anniversary.
We will see you next time. Later.
that? What? I was just sitting there and you were all quiet. What are you doing?
Ronnie James D.O.G.